guys, it's Katie, and I have been struggling to do life things and reading things for a while now, but particularly all of October. And so I've kind of landed myself in a bit of I'll call it a reading slump, but it's like not, because I'm in the middle of a couple of things right now and I'm like enjoying them, but I'm just having trouble figuring out how to do time things, and I don't even know. But I'd like to get through these books by the end of October, and since today is October 24th, I've got a week left of the month, and so I was planning on doing a reading vlog for the rest of October. It's now 11:20-ish on October 24th, as I was telling you before, and I mean 11:24 p.m. or 11:20 p.m. because, hi, this is my life. But I'm still hoping to squeeze in a little bit of reading tonight. We'll see how far I actually get. But I'm still finishing up some work and I need to get that done. So my reading might not actually officially start until the 25th. But that's okay. I'm gonna do the best that I can. I would like to at least get through 3 books right now. There's one I know for sure I won't finish because it's just too much for me to handle right now, topic-wise. So I'm hoping to get through 3 books that I have on my TBR. 2 I've started, and I've got 1 left, and then I'm gonna end up pushing the other big one that I haven't started and I mentioned earlier into the beginning of November. And just my TBR for the rest of the year is kind of shifting and changing from what it was originally going to be. So I mean, it's okay because I didn't have a lot planned anyway, but I just my life since May has just been a disaster. I'm just gonna disclaimer that. I've been having a lot of trouble with a lot of things. Like, let's see. Well, if some of you guys know about my, as I dubbed it, my summer in Dante's 13th Circle of Hell, because of a professor and a situation that I was going through with school stuff. And I mean, that meant I didn't get a break at all. I was supposed to have most of July off and all of August off until school started, but I didn't get any of that. So because of that, I'm just feeling extra burnt out right now. And I kind of had a bit of I'll call it a depressive episode in October. I don't know. But then, besides the school stuff, I've been having some other family things going on, and then just everything was just happening all at once, and now I'm in school again, and I've got work, and I'm just struggling to do anything. For those of you who don't know, I'm in law school, so I mean, that's why, like, all of the stress. One thing that I did to try and keep myself a little bit sane this past month with all of the chaos and everything, and I needed to keep my mind off of some stuff, is I binge watched BBC Merlin, and I finished all 5 seasons and went through all of the fanfic and tried to stay on top of my schoolwork and sleep and things just in like 3 weeks. Just, yeah, it was a great life choice, but it was also a questionable life choice. But I needed to do something that didn't require a lot of brain power on top of my schoolwork. And so just watching Merlin was just like the best life choice. But as I said, then because of everything else that was going on, I just didn't want to do anything else. But now I don't want to say I'm coming off of my Merlin high because I'm still on it, but I've gotten through everything that I can possibly get through related to fandom at the moment. So now I can hopefully, and I mean this in the best way possible, force myself back into doing actual reading things, because the books that I'm reading are interesting and I want to get back to them. And I mean, one of them is weird and I don't know how I feel about it, but then the other one is good and I'm just excited about it. And then the other one, as I said, it's just a very rough topic for right now. And I knew that before going in. So I mean, I knew that it was probably going to be a rough time, but I'm just not in the right mindset for that book right now. But briefly telling you the 3 books I'm in the middle of, and then the one that I'm going to hopefully finish on Halloween, because it's short, or maybe just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know. We'll see. We're just gonna try and take this play this by ear, but also hopefully get through the things that I have condensed. So currently, as I said, I'm in the middle of 3 books, and they are The Handmaid's Tale, which is the book that I will not be finishing this month. It will probably be finished by the end of November. That's my ultimate goal for it. I don't want it to carry over into December. I just don't. So I'm going to do everything in my power to finish that book in November when I can. Then I'm also in the middle of The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. That's the book that it's like super weird, but I'm actually also kind of enjoying. And I also just don't know how to feel about it. And that book I will definitely be making every effort to finish in the next couple of days. It's one of the more lighter books that I'm in the middle of at the moment, so we're gonna just try and get through that one first. And then the other book that I'm in the middle of is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and I'm actually really enjoying that book a lot. I know it's a pretty polarizing book in a lot of different ways. Like, people say you either love it or you don't. I've read some of Bradbury's works before, some of his shorter works, like The Veldt, which I loved. I liked that, like his shorter works and the other things that I've read by him. I knew kind of going in that I probably would enjoy him because I really like his style of writing and just the way that he tells his stories. And so I think I'm really going to enjoy the rest of it. But I mean, that's the book that everyone has been commenting on the last couple of videos about. Like, it's just all been about, oh, Fahrenheit 451 in some form, some way, shape, or form. So people were excited. Other people were like, just ... And I'm just like, whoa, ominous. Okay, cool. And I'm pretty sure, just reading the large chunk that I've read so far, because I think I'm about like a third of the way through at this point, but being about a third of the way through that book, I'm pretty sure I've read some excerpts like in high school or something. I don't even know, but some things are jogging for some reason, and I know I haven't read the work in its entirety. But some scenes and some particular passages have really jumped out at me. I'm like, this is really familiar. So I don't know. The book that I haven't started yet, but I hope to finish before Halloween or on Halloween, is Frankenstein, because it's a classic and it's a book that has been on my TBR for a long time. And I know that book is also pretty polarizing. You either love it or you don't. And I don't know, I'll be interested to see where I fall. For time's sake, because everything is just chaotic at the moment, I'm going to do a review kind of thing at the end of each book. So it'll be the 3 books that I'm planning on finishing by the end of this month. And I'm just going to do reviews within this vlog to make it easier on everyone. And then my wrap up and my TBR will be combined again, and that'll hopefully come out sometime next week. We'll see what happens. We're just gonna kind of roll with it. It's technically day 2 of my reading vlog, but it's really not because I didn't do any reading last night after I talked to you guys like I said I would. I instead edited my Jackathon vlog, the really sad and pathetic one, and that will be going up tomorrow. So I hope you guys enjoy that when you watch it, if you watch it. And actually I'm waiting for it to upload right now. But today I get to go home, and this weekend I'm hoping to get through several of my books. I'm at least finish the 2 so then I can read Frankenstein in Peace next week, and then hopefully also start Good Omens. We'll see what happens. The plan tonight is to hopefully pick up the Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. We'll see. I'm hoping to get through a chunk of that though, and then just hoping to finish it within the next couple of days. Well, next couple of hours I've got lunch with a friend, and then I have class at 4, and then I get to go home, and I'll probably die on the floor, but it's fine. I'm gonna make this be fine. I'm gonna make this work, guys. I'm gonna do my utmost to get my life back on track. It is now 9 p.m. I got home a little while ago, and I'm getting ready to shower, but then once I'm done with that and just taking care of myself after like a long day, because it's been a hella long day, friends, let me tell you. But after that, then I'm going to snuggle up in bed, maybe, and got my Kindle over there, and I'm gonna tuck into some more Color of Magic and hopefully get through a little bit more tonight, and finally just start to get back into reading, because, friend, I need to do the reading thing. But yeah, we'll see how much I get through, because I'm pretty tired and I might be like nodding off as I read because that's how tired I am. But I'm gonna try and see what happens. Good day, friends. So I managed to squeeze in some reading last night. I didn't update you because I literally fell asleep right after I finished reading, but I got from 30% to 46% on my Kindle, so I'm making headway in Color of Magic. I'm actually liking it a lot more than I did at first, so we'll see how I feel about it once I finish at some point or another. But today is a new day, and I'm going to run a few errands first. I'm going out to vote, and then I have to go do some grocery shopping, I guess, or something. And then I'm coming back, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of homework. And then hopefully tonight I'm able to squeeze in some more reading. I haven't decided what I'm going to read yet. It might be more Color of Magic, so then I can hopefully finish that up. But I'm excited that I'm kind of starting to sort of get back into the swing of things. And yeah, since we last talked, I did some errands and came back and didn't do too much, but I also voted. So yeah, I'm really excited that I got to do that today. And then now, because my grandma's still here and it's almost Halloween, it's time for Halloween Town. We're probably only going to watch the first one tonight because she wants to watch baseball later. I look forward to watching this every year, and so it's time. But yeah, then later, after that, I'm gonna squeeze in some more Color of Magic, I think. And yeah, we'll go from there. I just realized I hadn't updated you guys in a while as to my life. But I managed to get another large chunk of Color of Magic done last night. And today, I've been doing a lot of like cleaning up things and whatever. And I've just kind of been getting my life in order, sort of. And now I'm getting ready to go watch Halloween Town 2 by myself because it's that time of year, and I had a good time watching the first one last night. And then hopefully I can actually finish The Color of Magic later on tonight, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go watch Halloween Town 2 now, and I'll check in with you guys later.
We're going to be real witches and warlocks. We need brooms too, right?
Just finished Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, and I'm going to do a full review for you guys on that tomorrow, which I'll include in the vlog. But it was a weird read. I didn't hate it and I didn't love it. It was just weird, and I knew going in that a lot of people would say that it wasn't their favorite. Like, most people I know that have read that book say it's not their favorite, and I can understand why. Basically, the short version of it is it's a parody on, you know, really well-known fantasy and like fantasy tropes and things. So I mean, it was kind of like funny from that aspect, but the plot was just weird and made no sense whatsoever. And so it was just, I don't know, weird. But as I said, I'll give you more of my full thoughts on that tomorrow when I do my hopefully short review. So last night I told you that I finished Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, and today I thought I'd do like a little kind of review-ish thing about it, because I don't have time to do larger reviews for everything right now. And as I said, I'm talking about Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. And what that book is about is, first of all, it's the first book in publication order of the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett. There are, I think, 40 all total, and they're kind of like split in sub-series, and you can kind of read them in really any order, I think, except for like one that really needs to be read right after it, or one of the books or something. I don't know. But you can really read them in any order and still be okay. It's a non-linear, nonsensical world, kind of. But basically what the Color of Magic is all about is it follows a wizard, an incompetent wizard at that, named Rincewind. An incompetent wizard who basically knows one spell. But he comes across this other guy named Twoflower, who is a tourist in this part of the world that they're in. I think it's called Ankh-Morpork, I think. It's complicated. But then they just go on all kinds of crazy adventures, and it's basically a parody on all kinds of fantasy tropes, like traditional fantasy that we know and love. So I mean, there's a little bit of like King Arthur spoof stuff in there, and maybe a little bit of Lord of the Rings spoofy things in there, and it's just really interesting and kind of funny, but at the same time it's nonsensical, so the plot kind of just doesn't make sense. They just kind of end up somewhere, and then they have like an adventure there, and then they move on to somewhere else, and then have an adventure there. So I mean, the plot is really weird, and I think that's kind of why I gave it the rating I did. The writing was fine. I actually really enjoyed the humor in it, and I found it great because the humor is not only very, very punny, but it's just, as I said, it's parody. It's parody on fantasy. And I know some of his later books are more satire, which I'm really, really looking forward to, but I really enjoyed this parodical, is that a word? Parodical? I don't know. We're going with it. Style that he did, and just getting to see all of the different fantasy tropes and plots that I have come to know and love portrayed in this kind of a way. It was just really amusing, especially the King Arthur one, since I literally just binge watched Merlin, and so I really enjoyed that. So I like the writing a lot. The plot, as I said, was weird. It just didn't work for me for some reason, but I enjoyed it well enough. And the characters were interesting. I particularly loved Death. He's probably my favorite from the book, even though we didn't get to see him too much. I really enjoyed his character. Rincewind, whatever, was okay. He was a little bit annoying at times. I really like Twoflower. He's kind of amusing. Those are like kind of our main characters, I think. Just Rincewind and Twoflower were our main characters. And yeah, it was okay. World building was interesting enough, but it wasn't the strong suit of the book either. I really saw the writing and the characters and just how those two things fit together to be as the strongest point of the book. So overall, I liked it. I'm definitely going to continue because I've heard his later books are a lot better. I know this was the first book that he put out for this series, so I mean that's understandable. And then it's also just I knew going in that it wasn't one of his stronger books, so I kind of prepared myself for that. Just prepared myself to not enjoy it as much as I know I will for some of the later ones. Those are my overall general thoughts. I don't know, have you guys read any Discworld? If so, do you agree or disagree with anything that I've said? I'd be curious to hear, so feel free to go comment down below. A little bit later on today, I'm planning on getting through another chunk of Fahrenheit 451. I've really enjoyed what I've read so far in that book. But I haven't had so much time to read it because I'm just kind of going back to my read one book at a time kind of mindset. So yeah, I hope to get through a bigger chunk of that today and then hopefully can finish it up tomorrow sometime. I just finished Fahrenheit 451. I read both parts 2 and 3 tonight. It was just so compelling and suspenseful that I just couldn't put it down for the last, I don't know what's it been, about 2 hours. And so I literally just binge read the last 2/3 of the book, and it was so good. I'm so glad I read it and just had a chance to finally take some time and appreciate that book. I'm going to probably do a review for you guys tomorrow. That I loved it. It was my favorite book from this month. Granted, I haven't read very much from this month, but I really enjoyed it. It made me think a lot, and it had a lot of really important, poignant things to say, and I'm just floored, honestly. I'm stunned. I know if you don't remember, last night / this morning, I ended up finishing Fahrenheit 451. So now I'm going to do a review of it because I feel like I have a lot to talk about for it. So I'm going to do it similar to my normal reviews where I talk about, you know, the world building, the characters, the plot, and the writing. So let's just launch right on in. So if you don't know what Fahrenheit 451 is about, it takes place in a dystopian society where books are banned. If you find a book, it must be burned because of just the way that the society is. Our main character is named Guy Montag, I think that's how you say his name, and he is what's known as a fireman. And he goes around and he finds people who have books, and he either burns the books or he burns the house with the books in it so they can no longer be found and whatever. And I think it's just a really, really interesting concept, but I'll expand on it a little bit in a minute. So basically what happens is Guy, one day, he encounters this young girl named Clarice, and she starts talking to him and having intellectual conversations with him about things that she's read. And then one day she goes missing, and Guy, is just having a really difficult time because you're not supposed to want anything to do with books. But one day he decides that he's having a really hard time, so he steals a book and he takes it home with him, and then he kind of starts slowly hoarding them and keeping them in his house, much to his wife's chagrin. And things kind of progress from there. So, talking a little bit about the world building. As I said, it takes place in a dystopian society, and the world isn't really too drastically different from kind of the world that we know, except for that it's dystopian society, and that it's, you know, different than it should be. The idea of banning books and not being able to read books, to me, is just a really scary and sad thing to experience. And so I thought that Ray Bradbury did a really, really great job kind of showing this world and kind of what it's become. The idea of the firemen and the idea of these mechanical hounds that find people So the world building was, you know, decent enough. It wasn't like a huge fantasy world or anything, but I really enjoyed how Ray Bradbury distinguished between, you know, our world and this new dystopian world that he created. Then, second, let's talk a little bit about the characters. I really liked Guy as a main character. I thought he was really well fleshed out and really interesting, and getting to see his inner turmoil and everything that he was going through was really interesting. The characters that he interacted with were irritating and interesting. I really did not like his wife, Millie. She just was really irritating and just was really frustrating to experience. Clarice was interesting for the period of time that she was there. I really hated Montague's boss. I forget his name right at the moment, but I was not a fan of him at all. And just the middle of the book with the big climax was just, it was wild, man. Really liked Faber. Faber was really, really interesting. I mean, just his characters were interesting. I mean, the main focus was on Montague and his inner turmoil and his experiences with the world that he was living in, and the characters around him were kind of there as devices in a way to help him with his thought process and to just add to that extra turmoil. So I thought that was a really interesting usage of the characters, and so I really liked them. And then switching over to the plot at first blush is just him dealing with his inner turmoil of books versus not books, and everything he knows as a society versus kind of just trying to deal. But then by the time part 2 and part 3 come into the picture, the plot really picks up a lot more, and it becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more suspenseful in a way. Particularly part 3 was, I think, where the book's plot shone the most. I mean, part 2 started to make it climax a lot more, but then part 3 really, really just was where everything exploded. And so I really liked that, how the plot was done. And then finally, the writing. Let's talk about Ray Bradbury's writing. I love him and his writing. He is a phenomenal writer. I've read several things from him before, mostly short stories like The Veldt. If you haven't read that, definitely go check that out. But his writing is just so masterful. It paints such a beautiful picture, and he really, really just sucks you in. And I really think that that was the strongest point of the book, at least in my view. Just the writing is some of the most phenomenal that I've come across, and I just really, really enjoyed reading his writing. It's very descriptive and very just well done overall, and I had a really good time reading it. Now, another thing that I'm going to briefly talk about is just how much that book makes you think and makes you just question a lot of things, and it just, I don't know, it really sucked me in and got me thinking. I mean, as I might have mentioned before, my dad's the one that kind of put me on to reading this book in the first place. I read, I think, an excerpt or 2 in high school, and I mean, it was from, I think, earlier in the book, so I didn't get the full experience of reading the entire thing. And I'm going to thank my dad for that. I mean, he also put me on Animal Farm, and I loved that. I read that earlier this year, and I'll link that up above. As a reader, reading Fahrenheit 451 was particularly interesting and thought-provoking because of all of the things it makes you think about and question, and it's just a good book to talk about, I think. And I know a lot of you have read it, and I know it can be kind of polarizing. You either really liked it or you really didn't like it. I tend to fall in the category of that I really, really liked this book. And I'd gladly talk to any of you about it if you've read it. And if you haven't, I'd highly recommend checking that out. It is about a little after noon on Monday. I just filmed my kind of review-y thing for Fahrenheit 451, which I finished last night. I really, really liked Fahrenheit 451. But that brings me to other things. I started Frankenstein today, and I'm really enjoying that as well. The writing is really, really captivating and interesting. I am not very far in yet. I've gotten through, I think, like the first 2 letters of part 1, and it's interesting enough that I'm enjoying it. But we'll see how I feel, once I get into it more. I'm hoping to finish it before Wednesday, if I can. It might be a bit of a stretch. I might finish it on Wednesday, so I'll still reach my revised goal for October, which is awesome. But, yeah, I'm really enjoying Frankenstein so far, so we'll see how I feel in a little bit. So it's been a while since I updated you. It's now almost 12:30 p.m. on October 30th. And let me just briefly update you as to what I did yesterday before I go to bed, because I have to get up early in the morning. My life. So I ended up getting through about a little over 30% of the way through Frankenstein. I'm liking it. The writing is really, really great. It's so well written, and just I'm really, really enjoying that. The plot is a little, I don't know yet, but I'm liking what I've read so far. I'm liking it enough to keep going, and I'm really, as I said, really, really enjoying the writing and the overall style of how it's being told. The characters are kind of interesting, and I just really like getting inside of Victor's head. He's just a really, really interesting character, and I just love characters who have a lot of conflict and inner turmoil and just kind of that kind of adventure. So I'm really enjoying that. But then I also started another Netflix show because I am garbage. I started a show called The Medici. It's literally all about the Medici family in Florence in the 1400s. It's mostly following Piero's life and just kind of his taking over of the Medici family after his father was killed, because that's a thing. And I mean, while I know most of the storyline already, I'm really, really enjoying it because, hi, I'm garbage for the Renaissance, and spoiler alert, I love the Medici family. They're just so interesting, and there's just so much more to them than you learn about in history class. And yeah, I could pretty much tell you all there is to know about, and I'm not even remotely joking about this. I can probably tell you all you want to know about the Renaissance, depending on how much detail you want. Because that was something that I did in undergrad. I went to Florence for a semester and studied medieval and Renaissance history, art, and the language a little bit. So I mean, I know a lot about Florence and the Renaissance during that time period. I did do some reading things today, and I'm very pleased with how far I got, even though I kind of wish I had gotten through like halfway. But I mean, I've still got all day tomorrow, well, a large chunk of the day tomorrow, and then a large chunk of the day on Wednesday. And hopefully I'm able to finish it all by Wednesday. That is my ultimate goal. I think I can pull it off. But we'll see what happens, the motto of my life. But yeah, it's about time for me to go to bed because I have to wake up early, as I said before. I am on my way to school because that's my life. And just brief overview for the day. I've got classes on and off until about 5 today. My schedule is a little bit different than normal. And but I probably won't get back to my apartment until like around 6-ish, because I usually hang out with a friend after. But then tonight I'm hoping to get through like another third or so of Frankenstein, and maybe another episode or two of the Medici, because you obviously heard how excited I was about that last night. And I don't know, maybe some other stuff will get done, but for the most part, I've just got another busy Tuesday. Happy Halloween, or Samhain if you celebrate. I am going today as a stressed out law student, because that is exactly what I am, always, eternally. I have class soon, so I've got to peace out, and then I'm gonna do class, and then I'm gonna come back and be a hermit for the rest of the day and just do homework and probably finish Frankenstein and, I don't know, Scream. I realized I never updated you on what I did last night, and that wasn't too much. I read a fair amount of Frankenstein, and it's very, I don't know, I'm liking it a lot, actually. More than I was kind of expecting to. It's very, the writing is phenomenal, and I really like the characterization, but I also, find her writing to be so soothing, and I was reading it late at night after having, a super busy day, so I ended up falling asleep. Yeah, I'm good at that. And so, I got through my goal of the day, but hopefully later on today when I get back, I'm able to finish up Frankenstein. I'll also finishing up some homework and doing some NPRE stuff and editing my wrap up and TBR, so I can get that up tomorrow. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. For now, it's time for me to run off to class, as I told you in my last clip. But I realized I just didn't update you on anything that was going on. But it's a beautiful fall day. It's a beautiful Halloween day. And I'm so happy. Despite yesterday not being a really great day, I am so happy that today is a beautiful day. But yeah, I'm going to keep on walking, and I'll check in with you guys later. I just finished Frankenstein, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. I'll tell you a little bit more in a little while, because I want to let it sit for a little bit, but initial thoughts are that it was a really, really well done tale. It was beautifully written. The writing is by far the best part about the entire book, but then also the characters. I really loved seeing the torment and the portrayal of humanity and just the overall theme of destruction and life and grief and everything. It was just very, very well done, very thought-provoking, and just overall interesting to read. The plot was okay. It wasn't its strong point, I think, but the writing and the characters were phenomenal, and I'm really actually quite glad I read it. It wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be. I knew the general sort of plot, but there were things in there that I just wasn't expecting to be there. So that was definitely interesting too. But for now, I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit, and then I'll come back and do my review in a little while. To do my little mini review of Frankenstein, because I finished that a couple of hours ago. It's late. I'm not even going to tell you how late it is here. But let's just launch right in to my mini review. I'm going to do it like I did with Fahrenheit 451, minus the world building, because it takes place in real places, and it was fine. So I'm just mostly going to focus on the writing, the characters, and the plot. Like Frankenstein. A lot more than I expected to, and it was also a lot different than I was expecting. I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was really well done. There were certain things that weren't my favorite, but I overall really, really enjoyed it. And for those of you who don't know what it's basically about a young man named Victor Frankenstein who, when he goes to university, he creates this creature because he's lonely and he's learning all of this stuff and he's just super passionate about it and he's just totally consumed by this frenzy, I guess, and he creates this creature. And once the creature has come to life and he's, completed that work, it's all about Frankenstein dealing with the aftermath of creating a creature like this. It's kind of a think before you act kind of a situation. And then once you've compulsively done something, you're having all this buyer's remorse and you don't know how to handle your life kind of a situation. That is totally what this book is about. So the plot is basically what I just told you, and I thought it was fine, but in my honest opinion, it was also kind of the weakest link of the book, which is not saying anything because everything else was just leagues above life. So the fact that I'm just saying the plot is not my favorite part, it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It flowed nicely. I really liked the flow of the book and I really liked the overall style. But the plot, as I said, there were so many time jumps and it just didn't feel as fleshed out as it could have been. But also, Mary Shelley was 18 when she wrote this. So, I mean, just the fact that she wrote something this phenomenal at that young of an age, it just blows my mind. So, I mean, while the plot wasn't like the best thing in the world, I really enjoyed it regardless. Next, let's talk about the writing. So, I literally adored the writing. It was phenomenal. It was partially epistolary, so writing letters, and that was like the first chunk. And the second chunk is mostly just narrative and kind of just getting inside the characters' heads, particularly Victor's head. And then the last part is partially kind of like a hybrid. It was like epistolary, but it was also narrative kind of at the same time. And not only was the style phenomenal, but the actual writing itself was beautiful. It was captivating and invigorating and just downright beautiful, poetic. It would just suck you in. I would argue that the writing was the best part of the book, but that might be a bit of a lie because the characterization and just the character study was just phenomenal. But the writing and the characterization kind of they go hand in hand, so it's kind of hard to separate them out. But yeah, the writing was absolutely stunning. And then last, we're going to talk about the characters, which is, where the book shines. Like, that is literally the high point of the book. So we mostly follow the character of Victor Frankenstein, the creator of this beast and whose journey we are following. His main interactions are with the creature, but also with his family and his close friend. So his family is comprised of his father, his cousin, and these younger characters. I think they might be his siblings, but they also might be something else. I don't know. It was hard to follow the relationship statuses of everybody because, like, on one point they were referring to somebody as a spouse, but then they were also referring to them as a sister or a cousin, and I'm just like, I don't know what the relationship between these people actually is. So that was cool. But that he also has a very dear friend named Henry, and I'm 100% convinced that Henry was more to Frankenstein than just a close friend, if you get my meaning. Just there was a lot of subtext there, and Mary Shelley, I believe, was also part of the LGBT community. I think she might have been a lesbian, but so I mean, inserting some like hardcore subtext in there, I appreciated that. But also, they're just the relationships in this book, despite it being relatively short book, were so complex and so well fleshed out. Like, just it was a beautiful character study because we had familial relationships, we had romantic relationships, we had deep friendships between people, and then we had this central relationship between this creature and Victor as the creator. And another thing that was like fascinating, because as I said, just Victor watching his inner turmoil and just watching his overall mindset of specific things and his thought process and his reasoning and rationale, it was a very, very interesting and quite phenomenal. Like, I will never get over how good the characterization in this book was. It was just, as I said, what drove it. And I loved it. In all of modern society, everyone just, portrays Frankenstein as this ruthless, awful creature. And when you read the book, he is definitely not that at all. And the reasons he is the way he is make complete sense. And that was another thing that was really, really awesome in the book, I think, because it portrayed its take on humanity and how we deal with people and deal with choices that we make about things was just such a big central theme, and I thought it was executed spectacularly. Watching Victor's thought process and his reasoning and his rationale, as well as the creature's reasoning and rationale, it was just a very, very fascinating character study to kind of have these two similar but very different characters be seen side by side and kind of just get in both of their heads to see their reasoning, rationale, and the way that they interact and deal with the world. And it really starts to make you question, who is the monster of this book? Is it Frankenstein, or is it the actual creature that has been created? And I'm sure that analysis has been done ad nauseum, but I loved it. I just love getting to delve into someone's head like that and just deal with all that inner turmoil and that inner reasoning. Overall, I really, really enjoy the book a lot more than I was expecting to. And I would recommend it to any of you. And feel free to come talk to me down below in the comments if you've read it. Time to wrap up this vlog. So, just a brief recap of everything that I got through this week. I did a lot of fun Halloween-y things, but I also read 3 things. The first thing I read and finished was The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, and I had really weird mixed feelings about that. The second I read was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, and I really, really enjoyed that. I really liked how it made me think and how it, portrayed something in a very, very interesting way. And the third and final thing that I read for this vlog and for October was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which I really liked. I loved the characterization, and I really enjoyed the writing. The writing was gorgeous. I really liked how it portrayed humanity and also how it portrayed consequences for the choices that you make and the actions that you make. So those are the 3 books that I read in October, and for this vlog. I had a really fun time making this, and I might do more of these in the future if you guys are kind of interested. I know it's like super long. I apologize. I can't shut up. And I also did those like mini reviews. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and feel free to leave any kind of comments about anything that you saw here below, and we can have a conversation about it. But I guess now it's time to wrap things up. So as always, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media. I have a Twitter and a Goodreads, which are both linked below. And I also have other social media sites upon request if you'd like. And of course, I will come back with another video for you guys again soon. Okay,